Folks, welcome. We are live. It is your friend Jonathan J.O. Owen from the Party Source. And joining me together is one of my very, very good friends, the amazing, the one, the only Leslie McBride from Whiskey is My Yoga, a very dear friend of mine.
Hi, guys.
So Leslie picked out this as what we're going to be talking about. And you want to tell them what we're going to be talking about?
So we're going to be talking about some of the smaller distilleries and different reasons why things cost a little bit more when it comes from a smaller distillery versus what you're used to with some of the big names like the Wild Turkey, the Beams, Centauri's, Daniels, all of that.
So this is, without further ado, the bonuses and downfalls of being a smaller distillery versus being the bigger distilleries. So we're going to start kind of very, very simple with you guys. And we are going to say hi to the whiskey friend first off. How's it going? It's good to see you for joining in. But right now, when I think small distillery, you kind of have the same idea that I do. And that is Peerless Whiskey,
who is doing their release on bourbon on Friday. I'm so excited for them. Saturday.
What are they releasing?
Release date. I already poured mine, but I have my Peerless single barrel right here.
Oh yeah. Well, is yours the 2 or 3 year old?
Mine's the 2-year-old.
2-year-old. Okay. So just recently, the 2 and the 3-year-old have had a massive price drop from going from 2 to 3-year-old. So I have a 3-year-old single barrel, which is coming in at 106.9. We have a lot of thunder rumbling. So if for some reason we drop out, that is because I had a power shortage here. Hopefully there is no problem with that.
Same here.
Same there? Okay. But there was about a $30 price drop when these guys went from 2 years to 3 years old. So, Leslie, I just kind of want to pick your brain on that as to why in the world they dropped $30 at being 3 years old, and they were $30 more expensive when they were 2 years old.
So, I couldn't say, I've heard this from the distillery themselves, because this is completely me guessing. But once people get a little more established, they have more product to sell, and they've made some money, especially because it is enormously expensive to start a distillery, then they can go ahead and start dropping their prices a little bit. But the juice is still just as good, if not better. Because I have a 3-year-old mini down here somewhere behind me, so I haven't lost faith in Peerless at all. I'll be out there this weekend to go get a bottle of their bourbon.
Oh, nice. Okay, so people in the chat are asking who you are, so I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, so I am Whiskey is My Yoga. I write a whiskey blog, and I was formerly based out of DC area, and now I am a local to Louisville. Very excited to be here, and I have guest hosted with Jonathan quite a few times, and I am even more excited to say that I am now an official executive bourbon steward, so thank you, Moonshine University.
Check out her blog. It is really awesome. Leslie is very modest about it, but she is making it her goal to get more and more women drinking whiskey. And kudos to her.
Really, because I want everybody to drink whiskey.
Well, everybody. Yeah, more everybody there. So, sorry, I don't mean to...
oh, no worries. I love it when women drink whiskey, but I try to convince anyone who doesn't like it to drink it.
And I've got to see you in action at getting people at the bar downstairs, just talking to people who are like, ooh, I hate whiskey. And she just gets so excited to get them to drink something. So
that's actually how my blog started. Is my friends were like, we hate it every time we go out to a bar. You spend 45 minutes trying to convince somebody that they like whiskey when they swear that they don't. And then they're reformed, but we don't get to talk to you at all.
So joining us, we have Craft Beer Pours, the Whiskey Friend, and the Rock Gut Review, which I just saw. I enjoyed that new one. Now, going off of this Peerless Rye and something in which the Rock Gut Review did. Guys, I mentioned it to you in your comments, Rock Gut Review, as to synthetic aging. Going off of our idea of being a smaller distillery, one of the ups and downs is you can be incredibly creative. This one is from the Cleveland Whiskey. These guys are doing a quite unique thing. The whiskey is certainly not the best whiskey out there. It is rough, it is raw, but it is such a unique scientific thing that they are doing that just makes it stand out. They are basically, they're chopping up the barrels. He's told me they've reduced it down to just not splinters, but to like strips, not staves, but strips. And they're putting it in a gigantic pressure cooker, putting the whiskey in there, and they are barometrically pressure aging it so it is constantly fluctuating, going through numerous seasons. It can go up to like over 100 seasons, I believe, in an hour or a day. I do apologize. We do not carry it. This is just what I know from secondhand talking with one of the owners. And I got to meet him. He came in, talked to me. He gave me a bottle because he knew we couldn't get it here. And it's just a really cool process that they're doing. He invited me to go whenever I can get down there to see it. Definitely a checkout. It is expensive. It is anywhere from $60 to $80 for $7.50. Again, that drawback to being a small mom and pop distillery.
You know, Whiskey Prison they're out of North Carolina, but they're doing something similar where they age their whiskey every day with music going on. So they'll have like, as cliche as it is, when I showed up, there was Jailhouse Rock blaring, and I couldn't figure out where it was. And it is a prison that they've redone into a distillery. So where they have that used to be where the medical bay was. It's where the whiskey's aging. And they just have music blaring all day to try to, the vibrations, get it into the barrel and out of the barrel faster. I mean, their whiskey, I think it needs a little bit of time, but they're doing good things down there.
That's like the Copper and Kings. Copper and Kings is using music to blast at it. They have the bass cranked all the way up so that bass is slamming into the bottle, causing it into the barrel, causing it to ripple. Think like Jurassic Park with the T-Rex stomping and that ripple in the glass. And the idea is it's sonically aging it and constantly stirring it. The concept is just that. It's constantly stirring it and it's helping to age it. Does it work? They don't know, but it sure is a doggone cool story.
So one of the things, since I know we're focusing on bourbon right now, but Compass Box Spice Tree.
Oh, yeah?
One of the things that they've done to change the flavor of Spice Tree is they actually put staves on the top and bottom of the barrels, because in Scotland they weren't allowed to put the staves inside the barrel. So they worked it out with the committee so they can put it on the top and bottom and flavor and add that additional toast and things into the spice tree itself. So it's one of those like fun little innovative things, sort of like what Maker's Mark does in a way with their 46.
Oh man, I do, man. That's a Maker's 46 recipe. Okay, let's switch gears a little bit. We've been talking about the smaller mom and pop ones, but one of the downfalls of being the smaller mom and pop is, let's jump over to Maker's Mark. They have pretty much unlimited pockets. They are an established brand. They are in every liquor store and bar, probably all the way across America. And it is a stapled name. You can ask any of these Kentucky grandmothers what whiskey they like to drink, what mint julep they like to drink. They'll say Maker's Mark.
I mean, you go to Scotland, Germany, Ukraine, find Maker's Mark in all of them.
And so you have that unlimited pocket. They have the unlimited resources, but they don't do the creativity sometimes that some of these smaller ones do. But also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
They have the expectation of consistency that they have to meet amongst their customers.
Yes. You have the one thing that I am always impressed with Maker's Mark is the consistency. I mean, from their barrel proof to the flavor of every bottle, I mean, that I've had, has always been consistent and very, very nice.
Yep, and I'm actually pretty impressed with some of their private selects.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing of like the different flavor profiles you can get out of their private selects, and it always surprises me because Maker's Mark, Maker's 46, it's a super consistent staple. Like I have one of my private selects from them right here, but like they do something completely different with each barrel. And I love that, to like go into each new bar and be like, okay, if a Maker's Private Select is usually one of the first things I get, because I know, even though they maintain a general profile with it because they have their stage seasoning recipes and which ones they pick out to put in there to age it, it still has like a new unique flavor to it. But they have their hands tied on Makers and 46. They're expected to produce the same product again and again. As opposed to like my Peerless is called Brunch, and I picked the single barrel because it literally reminds me. It has like orange in it. It has like a little pancake in it. Like it reminds me of sitting and eating brunch in a whiskey.
Yeah, that one is your own private barrel, is it not?
No. Well, it was one of the distillery picks for
Okay. Again, now Spade has just joined in on the chat. He says he used to hear his relatives talk about bars with Maker's Mark when he was a child, and he always thought that was some sort of award. I can kind of back you on that, but the consistency is you have that millions of dollars behind you, so you can push your product no problem. You can advertise it to where, like, we're going to go back to Peerless. They're mostly relying on word of mouth. Now, however, they did come in with that, what was it, the 5th best whiskey? 15th best whiskey?
Oh, yeah, no, they've gotten amazing awards. And hold on. Nope, my little tag fell off. It had it on there. But they've gotten amazing awards. They were in Forbes Best Whiskey. They were the only rye on, I think it may be Forbes and maybe somebody else, don't let me misquote this, but they were the only rye on the top 20 whiskey list. So
yeah,
if you're the only rye, then you're obviously the best one.
Very much so. Now, we are going to continue on with that. These guys were, when they hit the market, was $120. Now they're coming in a little bit cheaper than the Widow Jane, which is another. This one is based out of the New York, Brooklyn area. Is that Yes, Brooklyn, New York. And really cool story. They're mostly They are MGP juice. They are just diluting it with New York-based water, which their well that they're using is really cool. This is also the bonus of being a craft distillery, is you get great stories like this. Is their water source is coming from the old mine that was used to pull out the rocks for the foundation of the Statue of Liberty and buildings such as the Empire State Building. It has gone into, fallen into disuse. So the water has collected in there, filtering through all those limestone rocks. So they just popped it in a well, pull it out, and they use it to dilute this. So you're getting a great history behind it.
I have one of my MGPs as well, which it's sourced. It has 2 MGPs and then an undisclosed location in Kentucky. It's High Banks from my home in Columbus. And their story is they're based on like the high bank of the Olentangy River, and they wanted to like get that Columbus history into them. But while they're distilling their own stuff, they have their own blend, which it's not like, it's around, I believe, $50-$60 for the bottle, but it's fantastic it's a rye, obviously, but considering the youngest one, I believe, is 2 to 3 years, it's a really, really wonderful bottle for that price. And I'm always surprised when I go into new distilleries because I never like have incredibly high expectations when I walk in. So when I taste something and I'm immediately interested, I get really, really curious. And I'm like, okay, where'd you make this? Where do you source it from? All this. And I love just to sit with this. There's so many layers in it.
That is, I love that when you find that in a whiskey, you just get those layers upon layers. I'm going to also, let's see here. I'm going to go and I'm going to grab this guy back here. These guys were sourcing they weren't MGP. All great whiskeys start with a great story. That is very true, whiskey friend. Half of a good flavor that you get is telling a good story. This is the Calumet Farms. We had a couple of single barrels. I know I showed it to you, Leslie, because I was shocked at how amazing these were. They were labeled as 10 years old, but technically they were 12 to 13 years old. And they were just so well-rounded, so soft. They were keeping their well-sourced dry, but we were able to deduce by flavor that it was coming from the Heaven Hill Distillery. But they went from readily available upon the shelf to about $46, $45 to dropping their single barrel program completely to focus on their 12-year-old and their unaged stated, because they didn't have enough bottles to cover all this single barrel. And as a result, their price has now jumped an additional $20. And the reason why is because their whiskey is not ready, and they are selling their older product that they have sourced from another well. So that is a major downfall, that you can run yourself dry and not have anything to have for the longest of time.
So what's your opinion on sourced whiskey?
Sourced whiskey. I don't mind the distilleries doing it. I'm going to throw out for OKI from the New Riff. They made it quite clear. They were very transparent from the start.
I think you might recognize this, Jonathan.
Oh, look at that. How's it going, Jeffrey? Awesome to see you, man. They were very transparent from the start that was going to run dry, and that they were only going to have it, they were going to source it, and they were going to run it for 4 years until their whiskey, New Riff, came of age. And as a result, they did start to run out near the end, but they timed it so they would not. Where other guys, they just push their product willy-nilly, such as Bird Dog. Bird Dog's 10-year-old whiskey was $36. Marty and I, that came in one of our favorite 10-year-old whiskeys in a blind flight that we did, and it shocked us. And then at Christmas time, it jumped from $30 to nearly $60 because they're flat running out of it.
Well, okay. Joseph Magnus is one of my favorites, and they're currently sourced. But there's so many people that I hear such bad things, like, why would you source your whiskey, all of this? And I'm like, they need to make a living before their whiskey's ready. And I think blending is a very underappreciated skill.
Sourcing your whiskey, there is nothing wrong with sourcing your whiskey, in my opinion. I know that there are those that do gripe about it, but you cannot speed age your whiskey. These guys would argue with me and say that's not true, but in the end, you cannot speed age it. You need something to hold you over. It's kind of common sense, because there are those guys that have put out, a 1.5-year-old whiskeys. There was one guy who was doing a 3-month-old whiskey that he was using a quarter barrel aging and like 6 different staves. And I'm not going to name his brand, but it just was not good. And he was charging like $50 for a 375. And he went as far as to say that New Riff, when he has X number barrels resting, and this was about a year before his product came of age at New Riff, this gentleman said this about New Riff, that they would not have nearly the amount of bottles that he would, as well as the barrels that he would, and that he was already making his revenue return. Nearly a year and a half later, you cannot find that whiskey on our shelf. And guess what came home with the double gold award? So you kind of do the math on that. That is one of the downfalls. You can't speed age it. You try to do those little gimmicky things. They're cool to do, but in the end, a tried and true 4-year age, bottled in bond, following all the guidelines and rules, making sure that your mash is good. Don't cut any corners. Don't speed it. Need to if you have to, but make sure you have something to fall back on. All right.
I'm a huge new riff proponent. I can't argue with you on that. I have at least I don't know how many other bottles I've went through, and I still have several. Because usually every time I go there, I end up leaving with a case.
Okay, I'm gonna throw in real quick on Whiskey Friend here is saying this. He says a lot of the newer distilleries. Okay, Whiskey Friend is in the UK. Great guy, love his channel. He's a great watch, very, very soft-spoken, love his reviews. But he said a lot of the distilleries, the newer ones there, are selling their new make to make ends meet. We were having that almost, that was really predominant about 3 to 4 years ago. There was a ton of new makes. And most of the time now those new makes are distillery only. We had so many new makes on the market that people would come up and offer it to us, and we just say, we're not interested. We have enough of it, and it's just not selling. So I'm going to kind of pitch in on that there. And Leslie, I'm kind of dominating. I'm going to let you talk a little bit.
So I love the new make concept. I'm not going to lie. I think it is the best vodka or gin replacement that you could possibly have to remake cocktails. One of my all-time favorite distilleries, and I know you don't have them because they can't distribute out in Texas yet because liquor laws in this country are horrible, but it is Still Whiskey in Austin, and they had an amazing new make program. They just came out with their bourbon, and I haven't quite been able to fly to Austin to get a bottle of their bourbon, but it's gonna happen. But their new makes, what they did, instead of flavoring it, they infused it. So they infused it with orange peel and with peppers and with other things, and they made these amazing different new make products. And one of them, the orange peel one, I didn't think anything could replace a gin gimlet in my heart, which I can't talk to you about the flavor profiles of gin like I can with whiskey. I just know I really like gin. But it completely blew any gin gimlet I've ever had out of the water. Their martini.
What distillery was this?
Spectacular. Still Whiskey Company in Austin, Texas.
Still Whiskey in Austin. I am not familiar with that, but a new make infused with orange peel sounds absolutely awesome.
It was fantastic. And the nice thing is it didn't have that overly sugared thing that you get out of most flavored whiskeys. It was very, very mild. It still had the alcohol bite to it that I love. And their new make had a flavor profile. And every time I go to a distillery, one of the things I ask is if I can try their new make. 9 times out of 10, they'll tell me yes. And usually I have my decision made on whether I like their whiskey or not by their new make. Because your new make, it can either have a flavor profile, it'll be one note. And it may be one note and you still end up with a decent product. But if it has a flavor profile already, I would bet $1 to dime that whiskey's going to be good because the new make's already palatable.
There have been quite a few of them that I've tasted in the new make that I've just turned around and said, I cannot wait for this to be aged. And so I fully agree with you there. Trying their new make, the new make is,
it tasted like flowers and magic.
Oh, nice.
They wouldn't sell it, but I was like, can I just, what can I do to get some of this? They sell it now because they went back and changed some things. But I haven't been to Scotland to go buy it. But it's a distillery exclusive thing. They let me try it because I requested. And it was just amazing.
Oh, wow. That's actually something we should do one day, Leslie. So you and I should have a new make off where we just show off some of our new makes that we've enjoyed in the past. Probably one of the best new makes that I ever got my palate on was somebody gave it to me and he had a port from a mason jar. And I said, I really, really like this. What store did you get it from? And he just kind of was like, and okay. He then showed me one of them that was a peach-based one. but he claimed that the one in the mason jar was over 138 proof, and it drank like freaking milk and butter. It was outstandingly good. So
there's a distilling company out of Utica, Ohio, and I think it's Mill something distilling, but they let me try their new make, and it tasted like marshmallows. I was just like, this tastes like toasted marshmallow, 100%.
All right, so let's kind of get back on topic here. Of strangely, we took in a detour of new makes, but we going back to it was the drawback of being a smaller distillery versus the newer distillery, in which, you know, you do have to make your product known, and in order to do that, you need to start with like your new make. You need to make ends meet. You need to have something to keep that revenue coming in. And if you don't have any sourced whiskey, then you're going to be forced to selling your moonshine, gins, vodkas, and flavored products, taking a young whiskey and making something like a honeyed whiskey out of it. Let's kind of elaborate a little bit on that there, Leslie. Coming to mind for me is like a couple of them. There's one local guy who makes this killer blackberry brandy in which he's using to hold himself over while his whiskey is aging.
So I've already mentioned a couple of the new make places that I've been to. Castle and Key is a big one. They're releasing their gin and their vodkas right now while they're waiting for their whiskeys to get ready to be on the market. Gin and vodka is one of the most popular ways because you already have distilling equipment. You just have to raise the proof a little bit.
And how in the world did I not think of this sooner? Is a lot of these craft distillers. It's what I do on my vacations now. Is I go to a city that is a very big scene for distilleries, breweries, and all the craft. And so one of the things I do is, like, when you hit these distilleries, they always have a bar in them. And so you can go in there and you can buy cocktails. New Riff now has opened the Aquafire. Let's see, Second Sight has, I don't know the name of that one, but they just opened theirs. The one I was at just recently was Stonebreaker had the Whiskey Breaker bar, and so you always see some really cool stuff on there.
Easy right
Okay,
now.
sorry, just a second. Whiskey Friend is saying good night. He's got to go to bed. He's on a different clock than us.
Bye.
So thank you so much. And Leslie, keep more women on whiskey is what he is saying. Cheers, mate. We'll see you next week. Okay, buddy? And I'll watch, definitely if you get a chance, Leslie, check out some of his videos. It's just the Whiskey Friend. He's a great guy.
For sure.
Okay, now as you were saying, I'm sorry.
Copper Fox and Percival is putting in a speakeasy. But one of the things I want to talk to you about was, like, a lot of state laws impede distilleries from doing a lot of things like that. Until recently, Kentucky couldn't have cocktail lounges in their distilleries. And in Virginia, if you have any type of a bar, at least 51% of sales has to be food. So it's incredibly difficult for anyone to put in stuff like that. And then, like, I pulled Kentucky Creek up because they're pretty close to my heart out in Percival, Virginia. But they ran into some issues with the new tariffs that were put in the UK because they were going to start distributing overseas. So it makes it really hard for craft distillers to distribute overseas. And then from state to state, you literally have to start distributing every state at a time to meet everyone's different laws.
Okay, Leslie, that is something I definitely want to touch on. But real quick, we have I Whiskey She Wines in the chat.
Oh,
have you seen their channel?
Oh, I have. I know exactly who that is.
They have been on the channel with me, and I'm going to try and get you and them together just so the ladies can have a whiskey night.
Oh, I follow them on Instagram. So.
Oh, they are so much fun. Bobby and Sam are, and so Bobby, Sam, I don't know which one of you is there, but both here. Shoot me an email, and I'll correspond with Leslie and whatnot, and we can see about setting up something here for us to have a great big showdown on some good whiskeys. All right. So, kind of going off of what you were saying with the laws, you do not have if you do not have the backing, then you are literally at the subject. I mean, that's the beauty of the big distilleries is they have those pockets. They can they can help their laws. They can advertise the fact that their laws to where the smaller guys.
Oh, plus you can afford all the lawyers in the world.
Oh gosh, yes. Such as I'm going to get off of whiskey just a little bit, just kind of use this as a metaphor. It's big on the cigar scene right now because I'm just recently getting into cigars, but I'm finding out that there is some new laws that are being proposed to stop sales of cigars online all over the nation. And the biggest backers behind it are the cigarette companies because the cigars are actually impeding the sales of the cigarettes. So that just goes to more of who has the backing of it. You know, that's kind of the more extreme, and it does get off topic of it, but that is something in which, as you can see, that there are some connections. But going into a restaurant and ordering in a bar and then finding out that you can only, you know, like a minimal of like 1 or 2 drinks with every like 3 plates that you order is a major fallback because they have to have 51 or more % of their sales at this bar have to be food. So the little man is trying to work, but he can't quite do like he would like.
Well, and that's one of the things about, like, I pulled out Southern Distilling Company, which I adore their rye. It's fantastic. Their rye is called Southern Star Standard, and they are stuck in North Carolina. But they have to be at a restaurant before they can start selling at a liquor store near there. So they have to be in a restaurant bar in the area before they can sell in a liquor store. I'm like, think of rural South Carolina. How many restaurants are there? Like, some of those towns, you might have, like, a liquor store, like 1 or 2 restaurants. You make the bartender angry, you're out of there, and all your sales are pulled from the county.
That is just, man. And there's so many interesting laws, and that just keep a lot of this from, you know, you don't think about it. It's quite often people just up until, like, Christmas before last, they come over and they'd ask for Yingling. I'm sorry, we can't sell Yingling. This is the state of Kentucky. And so it's just like, you don't think of it. One region to the next, and it's just these laws. Yeah, I understand. Go ahead.
So one of my friends in college, a couple of them, they were aviation majors when I was getting my undergrad. And they called me one day, and they're like, hey, you want to go to Pennsylvania on a beer run? So they literally, like, we flew on their little Cessna, or it was slightly bigger than a Cessna, but it was something small anyway. I don't know anything about airplanes, but we flew to Pittsburgh to buy a bunch of lit Yingling. We got as much as the plane could hold to fly it back to Columbus because we couldn't find Yingling in Columbus.
That's funny.
Like, completely ridiculous.
I was actually, I have over, I want to say over 26 hours as a private pilot myself. And so that was actually quite often to where we'd just say, hey, it was in southern Alabama, but hey, let's fly, you know, get in the airplane and fly for like 15 minutes to Destin and go get that lobster dinner for dirt cheap. And so we would do that. So I fully understand that. Now, going back to how sometimes these laws can really impede and restrict. So let's say like one state has the law to where we're going to say bottling. You cannot bottle anything over 80 proof. That is no problem for some of the much bigger distilleries that don't have that have the inventory.
Yeah.
To where those mom and pops, they don't have that back inventory. So they're literally shooting themselves in the foot. That's kind of a bad example of cutting to 80 proof or whatnot. But it's one of those ones to where if you don't have that inventory, it really does hurt you. So you never know sometimes how the wind is going to blow or if some law is going to change, you know, distribution is going to change, which that happens all the time here in America, such as we can no longer get, Nassau Royale, We can no longer get that in America because it has not just been discontinued by the distributor, it has been discontinued to the states. So if you get a distributor mad at you, like you were talking earlier, your product isn't moving. You have to find somebody who's happy to pick up your product and sell it. Then you have to renegotiate, and then you have to do all those other drawbacks. So, there's a lot to this, guys. And, you know, that is the price is just the smallest amount of the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more underneath it.
Well, and what I found most of the time, distilleries, even though people might find it outlandish to be like, oh, it's an $80 bottle. Well, $80 is the least amount of money that the distiller can usually afford to sell it at. Like,
okay. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, but a good amount of time, people are like, it's so unreasonable that they expect to get this. And I'm just like, not at all. Like, they have put several, like, most likely millions of dollars into their distillery, and then they're being charged over 50% output on all of their product. So it gets really, really difficult for them to sell things any less than they are.
Then you have to also take into effect, such as this is much bigger on the bigger businesses, to where they have to pay taxes on those barrels in the warehouse every year. So when you have, I'm going to pull out these guys again, the New Riff, these guys sat on their product for 4 years. So every year they are paying taxes on that 53-gallon barrel. And what is the revenue going to be in 4 years? Should you go ahead and sell it and try to make some of your money back? Should you, how much do the angels drink out of that barrel? You know, you're not going down knocking on every barrel saying, I think this one is halfway full, so I only pay half taxes on that. No, it's every barrel you're paying exactly the same on those. Happy 23, sitting in those warehouses for 23 years, you're paying 23 years of taxes on something that you might get 8 gallons out of.
Yeah.
Okay, now just a second. He's saying you don't pay taxes on bottled and bond, is what D2 is saying. This is not bottled and bond. D2 is somebody I actually really trust out there. Let's see. Sexton and Dustin go to my place for shrimp and get to Pensacola. Okay. Okay, so yeah, you're paying on those taxes on those. And so some of these guys are just, they're sitting on these barrels. And like, you know, those guys who have the quarter barrels, they have their barrels that are resting. And so in the end is, do they have what it takes to, should they open them up? Should they start selling them? You know, it's what it just comes down to. You are paying taxes on these, except the bottled and bond, according to D2 here. Most of it was, and he's winking at me. All right. So in the end, you're still having to pay money, even though none is coming in. So you, again, one of the downfalls of being those craft distilleries, but yet you do get the bonus of the creativity. We haven't really covered that. So you want to cover some of that, Leslie?
So, like, where do we want to go? Because it can be so exciting. Like, you have places like Bourbon 30 where you can walk in and blend your own bottle, which is amazing. Like, I don't know if anyone's had the experience. Like, that was my whiskey release. Is I went in and I made a blend for them, and they decided it was good enough for an official release, and they named it after my blog, which was really exciting for me. But, like, to walk into somewhere and be able to pull whiskey out of the barrel and taste it was a completely new thing for me, and I just, like, lost my mind the minute I went.
Oh gosh, yes.
Oh my god, yeah, that's amazing.
I have picked well over 100 private barrels.
Yeah.
I have I've been to quite a few distilleries. Quite often, a lot of these mom and pop ones, because the party source is kind of a central thing, and I don't know why, but this has happened about. I'm not complaining at all, but these distillers that are open these new distilleries in here, they come and they talk to me, and they're just like, they're like, I trust your palate, Jo, and I'm like, how in the world I get that? I have no idea. You know, I'm just a schmuck who got really, really lucky. And so they invite me to their distillery. They give me these great private tours. And then they're stealing from the barrels and they're showing me like their greatest things that they have made. And it's a wonderful world of experience. And it really gets me excited about, so I'm not going to mention their names, but some of the stuff that is going to be coming to the Cincinnati area in the nearest future. I will throw this guy out. He's just recently changed his name, is the Schumerich and Lay. Schumerich and Lee's, they were just recently purchased by 50 West. And I don't remember what they changed their name to, but they have moved clear across the area. They're no longer in the Ridge area that they were. They're now in a different area. I don't remember what township they moved to. But some of their stuff that's coming, I was really excited about. Terry was definitely a good friend. He's still working with them, and he's I've been working with him just on the side. He comes in and shows me new things he's working on, takes me out there, shows me his new stuff. And it was just really cool, an experience of it. And I hope it still keeps now that 50 West is still involved. Okay.
I mean, like, the stuff that I've seen between using chips, using staves, finishing barrels are amazing. And I'm not just talking about, like, using port or sherry or cognac, something new. Like, using barrels that you know have produced really good bourbon as a secondary bourbon barrel is amazing. Like, it's fantastic, like, what that can do to change the taste of a barrel or a whiskey. Like,
it really is. You know, you don't think of it, but I mean, just look at the different Maker's Mark 46 the Maker's Mark 46. All these private barrels, these guys are getting to create their own individual single barrel experience. And so that in itself is such an outstanding idea, in which just the first time I tried it, I thought, you know, okay, big deal. But whenever I put my hands on it, my palate on it, it was like, holy cow, this is truly awesome. Just changing one stave with another one was just creating something so unique. Woodford Reserve does kind of the same thing, where they will give you like 3 different barrels to blend your own recipe. When Angel's Envy was doing their single barrel program, they would do the same thing. And so it was just such an outstanding experience to just see what 3 barrels, 3 staves can do in changing something that was good to even better.
well, and what amazed me with mine is one of my barrels changed in a month. Like, that little period of time changed the flavor so significantly, I had to completely change the recipe. Like, I kept the 3 primary barrels, but I had to add something to it. It's just so different.
Was it it's not exactly bourbon, but you kind of see some of this. It does transfer over into the bourbon world. Some of these guys are getting kind of creative to where they get to throw like cocoa nibs into certain things or whatnot. But first off, I'm going to recap on this. Jeffrey Waxes, J.O. does the barrel picks. No wonder why I love all the Party Source barrel picks. He gets to go. He gets to be a part of the team. That is from D2. Yes, I am not the only one doing the barrel picks. I don't always get to go out to the distilleries, but one guy here got to go to over 67 barrels picks at distilleries last year. And my schedule prevents me from doing that, but I do get to do a lot of the picks.
I don't need a tag along. You just let me know.
But our barrel selection team is top notch. We always try to put our customers first on them. It's quite often we run across a barrel which is just so crazy and so unique that we fall in love with it, but we turn it down because we go for the one in which we know our customers will really enjoy, because sometimes it may appeal to me as being something that has extremely smoky with chocolate, but yet we know that our customer prefers a level of something else. And so we focus on those, but quite often we do pick our favorite barrel. So I got off topic there, but going back to where we're seeing these craft distilleries where they're starting to get creative, throwing cocoa nibs in there. Now we're seeing ones where they're doing beer barrel finishing. We're seeing
So,
those.
are you familiar with Westland?
Yes. Love that distillery.
Huh?
I love them.
Oh, yeah. So do I. Like, they're absolutely fantastic. So what them and then another distillery out there is doing is they're doing more of a brewing process with their wort. Like, literally, when Copperworks is the other one I went to, and he says he's a brewer, not a distiller, even though he owns a distillery. He brews everything before he distills it. And it just gives it a very, very different taste to what they have. Oh, you still there?
What's that?
Oh, I lost you there for a second. Are you still there?
You lost me for a second? Okay, that was weird. Okay,
Maybe it's the weather.
Now I lost you. Okay, I'm hoping that's just the weather. Okay, I don't think there's any problem with you. I'm going to check here. We are buffering a bit on the other end. Okay, we're back. We're back.
Okay, sure. But
yeah.
one of the cool things that they do is they like actually brew their wort or their their mash. So it gives it, like, I can sit there and drink a glass of their mash like it's a beer easily. And it gives the whiskey a different new taste. It's amazing. They're using brewer's yeast. They're looking more at the product on the first end, like the barley, and doing like American single malt whiskey, even though it's not technically a thing yet. And it's lovely.
Goodness. One of the best things, which I absolutely love to do, is tasting the mashes as cooking. I know you've probably gotten the joy of doing that, but if any of you guys have never been able to do that, going on a distillery tour, just sticking your fingers in that mash and tasting it, it is one of the most unique and best flavors out there, especially when you get one of those really sour cream corn mashes going on. Absolutely beautiful flavor profile.
A word of caution, if you have a peated mash, make sure that you're like prepared for it, because if you're used to normal mash, you try something peated, it is rather harsh on your palate.
I've never gotten the joy of trying that. You got me excited. I got to see if I can find somewhere that'll let me try that.
It was harsh. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I went to Isla and I was like, hey, can I try some of the mash? And I went and like took a swig of it and I was like, oh my god. Like, it's very rare. Like, you've seen me try a lot of stuff.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like, you very rarely see me cringe, even if I don't like it. Like, this one caught me off guard.
Oh gosh, yes. For those who don't know, I am a crazy, goofy guy who eats weird things, and so that's something which is going to be a life goal now, is to see if I can find something to try that, just to see how bad or good it is. Okay.
I mean, it's not bad. It's just not what you would expect.
Just not what you expect. Okay.
It's very intense.
Okay.
Like when you like go to get a chocolate chip cookie and realize it's raisin.
Oh, that is okay. That's terrifying. That is almost a level of torture right there. Enjoy the chocolate chip cookie. Oh my God, this is raisin. Okay. Another guy, I'm going to bounce over here to another one, in which is one of the smaller mom and pops, in which I'm just kind of showing how things change. Rabbit Hole here. They won a couple of awards for their whiskey, but when this hit the shelf, this was rough. It just was not good. It was young. It was raw. But however, the beauty of a whiskey is it ages and it gets better. And so this has only gotten better with time. And this bottle is it's not bad. Still, it's coughing in at about $50. But it is leaps and bounds better, pun intended, over Rabbit Hole than when it was when it first hit the shelf.
I mean, I can't say I've had it since it first hit the shelf, possibly for that reason, but I'm going to have to go back and try it again.
Yes, it's actually a lot better than it was, and it's really cool to see that changing and the palate evolving, the product getting better, and just seeing the difference of just what time can do. I know that is our most valuable resource as a human, is time, but things do tend to get better with age.
Jonathan, you've seen Neat, right?
What's that?
You've seen Neat, correct? Like the documentary Neat?
Oh, yes, I have.
So one of the things that like really resonates with me as a quote from that, like, I didn't think of it, but any master distiller may see one or two products that they really put their care into ever turn into something that goes on a shelf. And that's just crazy to me. Like,
Yeah.
when I realized that, I was just astounded.
Yeah, there is so much there you put in, oh goodness, it's like my mom was a professional oil painter. My really good friend is a professional comic book artist. And so they would start a project for this vision, and they would throw away, literally, they throw away like 3 out of 4 of the ones that they're doing because they don't turn out the way they do, and they start over. And so it is a literally about 25% of what he works on would actually end up for you to see. And it's really quite an so that actually is, again, it's art. Whiskey is art. We put so much effort into creating and making these things, but yet whenever you think of it, how much time goes into it? How much goes into that scale of making it? How many gallons in these distilleries? If you have a smaller still that is 10, yes, you can work with that. You don't have to throw away nearly as much. I would have to do that whenever I was coming up with flavors when I developed candies. Is I'd make a very small batch of that candy, and then I'd add in the flavor to see how well it'd work, and then I would math, and I'd come up with a ratio for that to carry over. So when I found that transcends in the whiskey, it is such a unique thing to see that all that same science from drawing comic books to making candy transcends in the whiskey, and how little of it we actually get to try in the world of it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm reading the comments. So if there's something you care to say.
Another comment. And I apologize because Sammy is demanding some love right now.
All right, Sammy is, if you want to introduce Sammy.
Sam, come. This is my drinking buddy right here, Mr. Sammy. And he is demanding my attention a little bit. So
when Leslie came over to do a film review here with me at Studio 1A, she brought Sammy, and Sam nearly worked his way into the video a couple of times. He was so kind, and he was cautious of just like 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. Then you were very astute to noticing it. Now
he is my love, but he wants to be with me all the time.
D2 is also throwing in. He's asking, do I think the sherry finish of the rabbit hole has gotten better? I do believe it has. Is it worth the price? Not yet. I want to see it get even older now, because right now I believe it is a 2 to 3 year old rye in a really nice 20-year-old Pedro Jimenez barrel. And that is unfortunate because to me, I describe it as 2 goats slamming their heads together, trying to dominate each other. And it's a cool concept. It just needs a little bit more aging.
I think a lot of American whiskeys are just getting into sherry finishes.
Yeah.
And a lot of places like to overdo them a little bit. Like, there's so much sherry, it sort of overwhelms the flavor profile of the whiskey sometimes. I'm not gonna
like they're almost like there's dissolving a cup of sugar in there with it. I know what you mean.
Oh yeah, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? You have a great product. Just work a little bit in to give it a little extra hit. It's like when you a girl going out on a Friday night, she throws on too much makeup. Like, leave the sparkles at home. Just go out as you are. You're fine.
D2 is saying there's never enough sherry. Let me see here. One of the most awesome ones on the market that has an excellent use of the sherry, I nearly grabbed it and brought it up here, but it's from Kansas City, and it is the J. Rieger. And J. Rieger was a helping project of Dave Pickerell from Whistle Pig. And he would actually take this, he helped these guys get it off the ground. He was only associated with it because they were friends. He didn't want his name tacked on there because it was their project. And Dave found a lost clause in this Kansas City stating that whiskey could be made with no more than 2% sherry. And so they thought, what a great thing to revive. So they just didn't use any sherry. They're using sherry Oloroso. And this is just that 2% in there is nearly perfect. It is a barroom flirt. And when I say that, the nose is simple: maple and oak. But then whenever you get it on your palate, it tells you one flavor profile, telling you another flavor profile, swinging to another one, then another. Never once does it settle on anything for more than a few seconds. And it is beautiful. All right. That's me on a soapbox about a whiskey that I really enjoy. And anybody who loves Angel Envy, I recommend picking up some J. Rieger because it is phenomenally good.
I mean, I've enjoyed it when I've had it.
Okay. You're just like, okay, Jay, oh, yeah, you really like that.
I'm like, I'll second it, but...
You can see, I really liked it. It was something that I just think that is an unexpected bottle in which... probably in one of my recommended top 10 barrels of just something that's steadily available on the shelf. It is a whiskey, but it's really a cool concept.
So, like, a new thing that, like, I think I figured out a few days ago, or like a week ago. So, aging in Calvados barrels.
Okay.
That's an exciting thing for me because, like I was talking to you about, the new Compass Box has Calvados in it, the Affinity, and it is my actually top favorite Compass Box that I've ever had. And I've had a lot of Compass Box. And then you have Dave Pickrell's final pick that he did of the Boss Hog that was aged in Calvados barrels, and someone brought that up to me, and I'm like, oh my God, you're right. Maybe there's a thing to this Calvados. And, like, I've just been in love with everything that I've had that's involved there. Like, you know, I had you pick a couple Calvadoses for me. Someone else comment?
Sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments here. Let me see here. D2 throws in saying that Jose Magnus' only flaw is not enough barrel finishing. And I know that's one of your favorite lines, Leslie.
I'm gonna argue with you by, like, my shelf of Joseph Magnus over here in the corner, because I love most of theirs, and a lot of if you're talking about their barrel pick program that they do, the barrel finishing process is usually decided by the customer and not generally the customer can do the barrel finish to their liking. A lot of times, as I know the program, and they have changed because they've had a recent adjustment. But I have a true love of their cigar blend. I don't think that anything is going to beat it in my heart.
Okay. And let me see here. I am also dropping a link in the chat, guys. This is for this one is for a link to get to Whiskey is My Yoga's blog here, Leslie McBride's blog. If you guys haven't already checked it out, please feel free to check her out. She is a very good friend, a great palate, and is passionate about all things whiskey.
That's a true fact.
What's that?
That's a true fact. A lot of my friends get annoyed by that.
Yeah. Getting passionate about something that you enjoy is not wrong. Now, my wife will say it's not wrong, but the fact is that's all that you talk about. For God's sake, talk about something else. And we got Richie Z just dropping in. Hey, buddy, how's it going, man? Good to see you there. Okay, we only have a few more minutes, so let's see here. We've covered quite a bit of different things out there. A lot of time, I'm going to also throw out behind the smaller distilleries. This is something I wanted to talk on a little bit, was the hype behind them. Is that hype right now is something in which they really is what is really pushing a lot of these guys. You only have like X number of bottles. You are selling it for like $200, but yet you put up a big hype of like a big dinner, a big benefit, a big unveiling. And honestly, it's a great idea. But the question does come down to is, are you generating just enough hype? But a lot of this time, this product is tested unseen by the public. Can you kind of throw in a little bit on that, Leslie?
I mean, I worry a bit about this because a bunch of people going into the distillery business right now because it's grown. I just did a research project on it before I left grad school because I had to start a business. So of course I picked start a distillery and figure out all the logistics around it because I got my master's degree in logistics. But it's grown 51% every year for the past 3 years. So people see that type of profit and they flock to it. But I find that the distilleries that really have the good whiskey are the people who truly love what they do.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I bring up the Southern Star again because the master distiller of it, she is, by the way, she is utterly outstanding, but she has a true passion for whiskey, and she has pretty much her entire life. So that's where, like, I find the best products come from, are the people, because there are people who just rely on the computer, rely on it to tell them what's right, but those people with the real passion and real love for it are the ones that make the great products. Other people, I taste their products, and I'm like, it's unfinished, it's undone, it's not quite there, which you'll never see me put a bad post on my blog. I don't believe in it, because whiskey takes time, and I never, ever want to throw anyone under the bus that might be amazing in a few years. Rabbit hole, as you said, has definitely come up. Redemption has redeemed itself in my eyes since it came out. And I don't like to say bad things, but it's one of those things. If you have a true passion for it, then it's going to show through in your product. And I think that's something these craft distilleries need to come up with, as opposed to the people who just want to get in on the bourbon boom, as they're calling it.
Yeah, that's kind of going off that. You do have those that are just going into it just because they think it's something profitable. And it's like some of these, we're going to go back to breweries just for a moment, but you had all these breweries that were the hot minute popping up, and you had these guys, I've made beer before, let me try making some for a brewery here. And they might last 2 or 3 seasons, and then they close their door because they were good for a hot minute, but they didn't have that lasting power. That's with the bourbon and whiskey, it's a good 4-year run before you mostly see your best product. But also tying in on that, this is another topic in which I really want to hit on real quick, and that was that we had all these breweries that popped up. Then all of a sudden, big guys came in and they started enveloping them in that bubble, taking them under their name, under their wing, purchasing them, giving them like free control, but yet we pull all the purse strings. We have the final say. Do you suspect that we are going to see that movement of the bigger distilleries moving in and starting to buy up the more profitable, smaller mom and pop distilleries?
Yes, 100%. That's gonna be a thing. It already is a thing. But what I love about that thing with distilleries, when they buy up the popular distilleries, usually they just invest a ton of money in them and let them go, because they understand that these distilleries, they have their process, they have their ways that work, and they might try to send in advisors and streamline them, but they don't try to screw with the product. And that's something I loved seeing in Scotland, was like these major investors pouring money in and helping this product get out of the country that is utterly amazing. And it expands their revenue of what they can do. But they're like, hey, y'all do what you do. We're just going to be the back end, and we need to kick back the profits. Like, I like the do what you do mentality, and I'm completely cool with that. But if they wanted to change it, like, nobody wants another Jack Daniels. We already have Jack Daniels.
No.
So we want that new, unique thing that we get from this distillery. But what sort of scares me with stuff like that is you take some of these distilleries that make these wonderful products. Like I said, I'm a religious Joseph Magnus fan, at least as far as the cigar blend goes. I have 6 of them behind me. And I don't think you'll see another 6 of any single brand on my entire shelves. But, like, if someone bought them and decided that they were going to change how they made whiskey, it would break my heart. But if someone bought them and was like, let's make you so you can distribute to all 50 states, I'm like, heck yeah, I don't have to drive to DC to get my cigar blend.
Yeah, D2 also throws in, he says, Goose Island, that's all you need to think about. That is something that does concern me, but a lot of times, I am, like it's kind of started with like 50 West enveloping Schumacher and Light. They're not big business; they're local. But that's could be like, you could say, it's kind of like that forerunner. Go ahead.
Diageo and Bean Santori, they're running up all kinds of places.
Yeah, you think of it, and it's just like, how many people do we know of have already been purchased? And Ken Lewis says, what I have actually heard has been offered quite a bit for his company already, and he turned it down. But
Fearless has had several offers to buy their company, and they refuse.
Yeah, and so I know that it is something that it is going to start to happen. You'll see like this pop-up mom and pop distillery. They'll get their name going. They'll get something up, and then somebody swoops in, purchase them, and there's going to be a little bit of difference. Kind of like it's already happened with the Smooth Ambler. The Smooth Ambler, as I've heard it straight up, that their 107 has been fully discontinued because the bigger company at the bottom has said it's not selling, so get rid of it.
Now everyone's buying it up.
Yeah. People, I mean, our private barrel of it, it's really good. But in the end, they look at the bottom line. They're not looking at the creativity. They're not looking at that. It's like, it's not selling like I want. Get it out. So it's just kind of one of those ones where it is going to be one of those facts of life. And it's something as us of bourbon lovers, whiskey lovers, we are going to have to deal with this in the future. It's the Old Scout 107 is the one I'm talking about, D2. It's part of the Smooth Ambler line, and well, it's just the Old Scout. Scout Smooth Ambler. The Old Scout was actually their MGP stuff. Wait, did I get that backwards? If so, all of you watching this, please forgive me. There's so much information swarming around in there, and I deal with so many bottles. All right, so with that, guys, we are going to go ahead and we are going to sign off. It has been awesome hanging out with you all. Join us. Say goodbye, please. I'm sorry.
Have a great night, you guys. Cheers.
Check out her link. I'm going to drop the link again, guys. And I'm going to say this for next week. Kitty Kennedy is going to be joining in her first ever live stream. And we are going to be doing a collection of Blind Flight of Poor Man Pappy, in which you will actually see a review of it going up Friday, but then we are going to do a special encore live flight of them getting a little bit there. So all of you in the chat, thank you so much. Take care, peace, and have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Goodbye. And there we go.